big swings.
Well, here it comes. Oh, my goodness. Oh, wow! In your life, have you seen anything like that?
Big moments.
There it is! Adam Scott, a life changer.
All the news, all the views.
The career Grand Slam belongs to Corey Webb.
Welcome to the PGA Golf Club.
And welcome to another edition of the PGA Golf Club. I'm Adam White and I'm joined, as I am every week, with Brendon Goddard. And BJ, as we welcome you in, it is a very special episode. All episodes are special of the PGA Golf Club, but this one particularly because we're speaking to a very good friend of yours.
Geoff Ogilvy, yes, he's kind enough to join us later on, so look forward to asking him about the President's Cup, Gippsland Super 6s this week, just talk all things golf, what he's doing this summer, next year. It's always a pleasure to talk to him about golf. Because
he's at a very interesting phase in his career because he's essentially taken a year off. He's been living in Melbourne and just sort of almost reassessing life to a point. We haven't seen him at his best now for a few years. So it will be interesting just to ask him, and I know you know the answers to most of these questions, just around what his motivations are to keep playing, whether he can get back to his best. There's quite a few interesting discussions to have with someone who is really fascinating to talk to when it comes to golf because he's such a deep thinker about the game.
Yeah, he is, and there's not much he's not willing to talk about, particularly in the golf area. But fascinating guy to talk to, all things golf. So we look forward to that. And
Craig Spence will be with us a little bit later on as well in the education corner with plenty to talk to him
segment
about. Absolutely, I've got to get as many tips as I can to take onto the golf
course.
Free lessons, exactly right. And talking about free lessons, we have got Lisa Jean, who is our co-host this week, who is the assistant pro at Huntingdale, but also she's been on a bit of a journey across to the other side of the world, which we want to ask her about. Lisa, thanks very much for your time.
Thanks for having me in.
Who is your favourite golfer to watch?
I love watching Rory McIlroy.
Yep.
I just think that what he brings to the game, he's only a little guy. He's only my height, 5'9", and the way he can hit the ball is just unbelievable. I just think he's an exciting guy to watch.
Well, it's interesting you bring up his name because he won just yesterday the HSBC Champions in China, and he's now won the Players' Championship, the Tour Championship, and now the HSBC Champions in the 1 year. So while he didn't win a major...
It's a WGC World Golf
It is a
Championship.
WGC event. So while he didn't win a major, he's won 3 massive tournaments for the year, including the FedEx Cup. What has, from your trained eye, what has he done differently this year to where he's been perhaps over the last 2 or 3 years, do you think?
I think he's just really happy in his personal life. He got married. He just looks like he's just really enjoying life. And I think that going onto the golf course makes a massive difference because I am a strong believer in that everything that happens on the golf course happens in your head. Kind of doesn't really matter how you swing it in a sense. But to me, he just looks ecstatic and he looks excited to be out there, which, as we know, when you're excited to do something, you always do it well.
I'm big on the fact, and BJ, you know, I've talked about this, about the importance of Rory McIlroy to golf in general, that he has that charisma, he has that energy about him that it's almost like you've got to watch him. A little bit like Tiger Woods when he was at his absolute prime, that we see all these American golfers that are coming through who are wonderful golfers, but they don't necessarily have a lot of personality about the way they play. It's great golf, but it can sometimes be boring golf. Rory doesn't do it boring, and I think he's really important for the game. Not only the way he plays, but the way he represents golf off the golf course as well, that golf needs him to be back near the top.
Yeah, it does. It really does. And especially having Tiger Woods there too now. I know that they get along quite well. There's a lot of banter there. And to see those guys doing well, it excites the kids, and that's what we need. We need the juniors to be excited about golf. And those two guys especially really make the kids really excited to be out there and wanting to play and wanting to watch.
So when you're sorry, BJ, but when you're coaching at Huntingdale, the youngsters that you coach, who do they want to be? Do they want to be still Tiger? Do they want to be Rory? Do they want to be Adam Scott? Who are the ones that they're trying to emulate?
Well, it's a very interesting thing. So I've been coaching a couple of kids for a few years. They're only young, 7, 8. They didn't see Tiger at his best. But now that he's back, they're like, I want to be like Tiger Woods. And it's just like, whoa, where's this come from? Like, you've been watching golf without Tiger Woods, but now that he's doing well, there's just something he does that just makes the kids want to be like him. And it could be because he's close friends with some basketball players and they have that X factor. And so you can see the kids just going, whoa, he's really cool. I want to really be like him. But also I get a lot Jason Day. And I guess because he's the ambassador for my golf in Australia.
Yep.
But have a lot of kids really enjoy Jason Day. And I guess he's got that similar kind of look and personality to Tiger Woods.
Yep.
So I think having those sorts of guys make the kids sort of want to participate and potentially one day getting to see them, meet them. Because golf is a game that you can actually get quite close and personal with the golfers, which a lot of sports you can't.
Yeah, no, there's no doubt about that.
Well, I was going to go back, but
Yeah.
I'm most excited about it, hopefully, because we're yet to see, in my opinion, the last 4 or 5 years, Rory, Spieth, now Koepka's thrown in there, JT, and then Tiger all compete, even Jason Day. You probably got about 6 to 7, 8 guys all compete at their best at one particular time. You had Spieth a couple of years ago dominating world golf. Jason Day threw in a major there. Now it's been Koepka. It's kind of been unrivaled in majors. I just want to see all 6, 7 of them find reasonable form at the same time, and then add Tiger in, and you've got arguably kind of the best era of golf that we may ever see in a lifetime. But they just got to pull it together. It just came to the top of my head when you're talking about Rory and now Tiger back on the scene. It's just just one point, hopefully whilst I'm alive, is they all pull it together at some point for a whole year, and we could see some unbelievable golf.
That'd be very exciting. It'd be almost like the Jack Nicklaus, Gary Player, Arnold Palmer days, wouldn't it? It'd be pretty interesting to see what happens to golf if that did happen.
Now tell us about, Lisa, tell us about your latest venture and captaining the PGA women's team at the inaugural PGA Women's Cup in the USA.
Yeah, so I went to Austin, Texas, got back last week, and as the Americans do, it was an unbelievable event. The opening ceremony kind of rivaled the Olympics opening ceremony.
In particular, one in Rio, isn't it?
Yeah. So it was a team of 5. So PGA, you have to be working in the industry. We had a pretty strict criteria to qualify. So you have to be working in the industry, teaching, and play a minimum of 5 events. So that cut our pool of girls or women down to not that many in the end, because there's a few that don't play anymore or some that don't work in a shop. So we got together 5 girls that are very excited about trying to promote women's golf, and this is what this whole event was about. It was started by Susie Wiley, who's the president, actually, of PGA of America. First female to be a president of a PGA association worldwide. And she came up with it to promote women in the PGA industry, not touring professionals. So team of 5, best 3 scores out of 5 counted for a 54-hole tournament. And we finished 4th.
4th? Behind?
So we've US
one.
Obviously. Canada played really well. They've actually just got some people just recently off the LPGA, though, both of those teams. So that kind of...
it ruined the...
38-year-old injured body didn't really hold up against some of those girls. But and then Great Britain and Ireland.
Okay.
And then us, and then Sweden.
So is it something that you think will get bigger?
We're hoping to. We're hoping that this will get the women in the PGA excited about being PGA members. Because
how many members are there? Sorry to take you off track a little bit, but
in Australia, I think we've got maybe 60. We've got 6% of the all PGA qualified professionals in Australia. So Sweden have 9%. America's got around the 6 or 7. So there's not that many, kind of, even in a place like America. So we're just trying to promote that the PGA, being a PGA professional, is a great career. You don't have to be a touring pro. Trying to get more females especially, but even juniors now, just involved in golf, and then trying to take it into a career option. Not just thinking, oh, I'm good at golf, but there's nowhere to go, because there's plenty to go. But we just have to start promoting it. But I know a few of my friends who didn't really think too much about what the event was, and now going, that's it, I'm going to start practicing for 2021. So hopefully we'll have some more people kind of excited about it. And
Would it be a full kind of international event in terms of where it's held, or is it predominantly in the US? The plans?
Well, it's going to be back in America, and we're hoping it's just to so they cop the cost really of putting on an event. But I know that the Americans are really excited. They want one down in Australia, so we'll have to work on that. And I think Gav's going to work pretty hard on Gavin Kirkman, the CEO of the PGA. I think he's going to try to work pretty hard on trying to organise one for maybe in 4 years' time.
Well, he's no longer the CEO because he's now just your team manager.
Yeah, he's he was team mascot, I kept calling him. I actually coached Gavin, so
right.
that was it was pretty funny to go from...
conflict of interest there, isn't
yeah,
it?
yeah. It was pretty... it was hard to go from coaching him and calling him team mascot to now go back to actually he's my boss, so... Got to calm down on that one.
Now, without this sounding like a battle of the sexes, when you're coaching, is it easier to coach women or coach men?
Well, that's a great question. I actually predominantly coach men. And I think it's probably because of my playing history. I was on the European Tour. And I think the women feel a little intimidated getting coached off me. So I do coach a lot of ex-football players and current football players and sports people and CEOs because I think
don't steal my thunder there. That's one of my upcoming questions.
Okay, that's all right.
And I think they like the fact that I was a high competitor.
Yep.
Whereas the women generally go to Steve, my boss at Honeydale. And I think it's the same thing. They just feel more comfortable with him.
Yeah, no, that's interesting. Because
Yeah.
I must confess, I would have thought that the women would have gravitated more towards you because, it's great, we've got one of the best coaches possible and she's like us, she's a woman, she's going to help me, she's going to understand me better, but it doesn't necessarily correlate that way.
For beginners, yes. Do get a lot of beginner ladies coming to me. But established golfers, not really.
Right, okay.
No, yeah.
Interesting.
It is interesting.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about yourself and your own career and trying to balance being a coach and also trying to play on tour as well, because I could imagine that's very difficult. But you said you've come through the European Tour for quite some time. Tell for the listeners out there a little bit about what you've been doing.
So I played European Tour from 2004 to 2010. Had some pretty severe arm injuries. Had 3 operations in 16 months on my arm, left arm.
Right.
So spent the better part of a year in a sling. Then tried to get back on tour. Actually tore ligaments in my wrist from hitting a tree root at the Australian Masters up at Royal Pines. So decided that probably should just stop playing competitively for a bit. Did my PGA qualifications through the bridging course. And so I've been teaching for the last 8 years. I do try to play competitively when I can, but my body's kind of breaking down. I've had 2 hip arthroscopes on each hip. I'm about to go in for a hip replacement in December. On my right hip, just purely from wear and tear.
From golf?
From golf, a lot of hitting balls, a lot of leg work in the gym. So I decided quite young that to get power I needed to build up my butt and legs. So they think that from doing a lot of leg work, heavy weights and lunges and squats that I've just added to the wear and tear through my cartilage in my hips. So, there's competing every now and then. And generally in Australia, our tour's in the summer, so I can actually do a lot of practice after work because of daylight savings. So, I don't really balance too much touring and playing and working these days. But when I can, I do love golf. I'm one of those golf people who actually I play golf because I love it, and I'm working in the golf industry because I love golf. And I do try to play with the members when I can.
So I was going to ask you that question before we break off and catch up with Geoff Ogilvy. That how often can you actually get out and play 18 holes when you're a golf pro, a teaching pro?
Yeah, that's a question we get a lot. Hardly ever.
Yeah,
because you're always working. So if you're not working in the shop, you're teaching. So I've just started playing actually on one of my days off on a Tuesday afternoon, just with some of the members, just for something to do. Because try to avoid housework when I can, so rather be on the golf course.
And what's the handicap?
+1 at the moment.
So you can still keep it at that level?
Yeah, sometimes.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
So,
I think luckily for me that I can still manage to get my swing where I want it to be. I'm very much a feel player, and probably because of all my injuries, I can't really work on much, specifically, but I can kind of get a feel going. And once I start seeing the ball going where I want it, then the confidence builds up, and then you go, right, I'm going for targets here. And fortunately enough, at Honeydale, the greens, while they're fast, they're quite receptive, so you can just start, dinging them in at the flags and hopefully roll some putts in.
It sounds so easy. That is the voice of Lisa Jean, who is joining us this week on the PGA Golf Club. We're going to take a break, but don't go anywhere, because next is something, as I said before, a bit special. Geoff Ogilvy, he's our feature guest on the PGA Golf Club.
Everything you want to know about Aussie golf is in one place. PGA.org.au. This is the official site of the PGA of Australia. It's the one website loaded with all the tournament, course and player news. That includes the latest on the ISPS Hander PGA Tour of Australasia. The Find a PGA Pro directory will track down the pros near you. And here's where you can live stream golf's best on PGA TV, watching tournaments live, streaming replays, or watching the latest reports on Aussie golfers around the world. There are even video tips from the pros. So if golf's your game, this is your site. PGA.org.au from the Professional Golfers Association of Australia. Driving Australian golf since 1911.
RSN Podcast, all your favourite RSN shows and loads of new programs.
You can listen all download wherever, whenever.
And now we're on iHeartRadio, the world's #1 radio and podcast app.
RSN Podcasts on Spotify, iTunes, Google Podcasts and at rsn.net.au. And now on iHeartRadio. It's free at your app store or head to iHeart.com.
And welcome back to the PGA Golf Club. And this week, well, we're both very excited, BJ, about this. We've spoken to a number of big names over the first month or so, but this one is someone that I know you're very close to, and I'm really excited about chatting to him. So I'm going to leave it to you to introduce who we're chatting to as our feature guest this week. We're
talking to Peninsula Kingswood member and course architect, US Open champion. You notice I put that third, Geoff. An all-round good guy, Geoff Ogilvy, so thanks for joining us, Geoff.
Yeah, no worries, BJ. How's it going?
Yeah, good.
He's got some really hard-hitting questions.
Hard-hitting questions. The first time, how excited are you to get to your lawn for the Gippsland Super Sixes this week?
Wow, it's going to be interesting, I guess. I haven't played a little golf tournament for a little while, so baby steps back into the sport, I guess. We'll start in your lawn, so we'll see.
When's the last time you played
I'm sure it'll be a bit of fun.
When's the last time you played a true country golf course?
You know what? I've got a friend who lives down that way, and I played Yarram this year. I played Yarram probably in May, so Gippsland in May, so not too long ago.
Is that because there's a bit of potential work down in Yarram, I believe?
There isn't actually, but we used to play this. There was this great amateur tournament. I don't know if they still have it. The 72 hole. We used to play Yarram all the time when we were kids. I played it 3 or 4 times. So we were kind of in the neighbourhood, and we thought, wow, geez, Yarram was a good course. Let's go see what it's like. And it's still great. So we had a good time.
It's unfamiliar territory for Brendan because he's also playing in the Super Sixes, and he doesn't tend to get off the sandbelt. So it's going to be hard for him, I think.
Well, truth be told, I was there last Thursday, to be honest, for a practice round. Drove down to your lawn. So
right.
Checked it out.
You're taking it very seriously.
Very seriously. So, no, it's a good little country track, small greens, tree line, slopey. So it's we're in for a good walk, and the weather forecast is not accommodating, to be honest. So we're in for a pretty tough week. But let's move on to the President's Cup, more importantly, Geoff. And has there been much talk recently with Ernie and the other assistants around the captain's picks?
There has actually the last few days. I actually have to tell you that I know what the picks are going to be, but I can't tell you what they're going to be. Obviously, for obvious reasons, they like to have big press conferences and make big announcements for those. But there's been a lot of banter, and it's been kind of revving up. We've got a WhatsApp group, Ernie and all the assistants, and a couple of other kind of guys that Ernie wanted in the mix, sort of throwing around names all year and kind of sort of seeing where that all landed and how everyone was playing. So it's pretty finalised in Ernie's head, I think. Maybe it could change in the next couple of days before he announces. But Yeah, so everyone's getting pretty excited now, and then when you kind of get the final 12 that you're going to play with, or at least you think you've got the final 12 you're going to play with, you can start kind of pairing them up in your head and sort of feeling how the week's going to go. So it's getting pretty exciting now, probably 6 weeks maybe, I think.
Have those players been told yet?
I don't know, actually. I know some players have been told they're not making it, which is Ernie was not loving having to make those phone calls. It would be a really tough part of the job, I think. But I don't know. Maybe they know, but they'll know in a few days because the official, they probably do know. I feel like I knew when I was going to get picked.
So Jason Day and Adam Scott will be a good pairing, won't they, Geoff?
Well, I don't know if Jason's going to make the team. I just, nice try.
Yeah, it was, wasn't it?
Can I ask you what it's like to be on the selection panel? Part of the sort of the captaincy role, leadership role. It's different to actually playing, obviously. What's it been like?
It's been quite interesting. I mean, I was an assistant last time as well for Nick Price, and to be honest, there's not a lot going on. It's just you're just a little bit in the loop. And as I said, we've had this WhatsApp group going all year, and there's just been mostly kind of boy banter, really, like stupid pictures from the internet getting sent around. But sometimes there's a bit of talk about golf and like who's playing well and who'd match up with who, and because the list is quite fluid all year, especially the bottom sort of. There's probably 8 guys vying for those last 4 spots on the automatic picks, and they're kind of quite fluid. So just the discussions about that. There's been quite a lot of practice round pairings put out there this year in tournaments. Anytime there were any of the guys who were in the mix were playing in the same tournament on Tuesdays, we tried to get them all together and play a little bit of golf together just to kind of familiarise themselves with each other and kind of create that kind of team thing before the team actually gets formed. So, but not much more than that. But I've been doing a little bit of stuff back in Melbourne with the President's Cup, Matt Kaminsky, who's setting up the President's Cup from the international team's representative on the ground, if you like, in Melbourne.
Yeah.
But really not a whole lot. I mean, it's quite a busy week during the week. But the lead up, it's just a bit more just kind of thinking of who would fit best into the team, really.
So has it meant you've watched a lot more golf because you're looking at who's playing well and that sort of thing, or does that kind of take care of itself because you're out on tour yourself and you know most of the guys, you kind of know what they're capable of doing? How do you sort of select those 3 or 4 spots that are sort of up for grabs?
Well, I certainly haven't watched as much golf this year as BJ, I can guarantee you. I've watched a fair bit of golf. I just look at all the scores from around the world. And, obviously, I'm texting and talking to a few of the odd guys that I've played with over the years, so you kind of get a pretty good feel for who's playing well. And if you track scores every week, you start to see patterns in the way guys' games are, I think. You can kind of feel how they play. You can see a guy's playing who's about to start playing really well, or he's kind of doing it with smoke and mirrors, I think, sometimes by the scores and the stats. So I've watched a fair bit, but it's more just being in the loop with the guys who are over there playing all the time. I was over there a couple of times this year in the US and chatted to a ton of people at a couple of tournaments to get a bit of a feel. But really, at the end of the day, we just help Ernie make his decision. He's picking who he's picking. And the world rankings do a pretty good job at kind of getting everyone sitting where they should sort of sit. So that kind of helps you narrow down your choices. So I watched it a little bit, but not a crazy amount.
Have you spent much time on the golf course, Royal Melbourne? You obviously live close, but have you spent much time out there lately?
Fair bit. Winter was rough. Because I feel like winter you kind of lose a bit of daylight. It's the members' course, you know what I mean? And you don't want to get out there too much in their way. But I've been out there a fair few times. I've probably played once a month, the West course at least. A few laps around the East course, but mostly around the West. Hit a few balls, and I've putted a fair bit there. And just trying to keep an eye on trying to find those sneaky pins that maybe we can kind of school our guys up a little bit quicker than they can school their guys up. I think that's our only real chance, I think, at Royal to get a kind of a local advantage.
Are we going to see anything different in terms of the setup to what we usually would at Royal?
No, I mean, you'd love to think you could do that, but Richard the Super's pretty, he does it his way. He's a great super, but he has Royal how he likes Royal, and the members kind of like hard and fast. They want to see it. There's a specific way I think they like to see it, the members at Royal, and that's how it's going to be. So there'll be no surprises with setup, I don't think.
Geoff, do you reckon that Ernie's taken into consideration anyone that plays well on a links golf course, seeing how that Royal, you generally can't hit targets as much as what the Americans generally try to do?
I think you're certainly looking for good putters. Royal Melbourne's clearly a putting challenge. And the links golf thing, the thing is you're only picking 4, and you're probably only picking 4 out of maybe a group of about 8 guys, maybe. So they've probably all got similar experience on links courses these days. We just don't play that much on links anymore, and American-style golf courses. So yeah, that would have been part of the equation, but I think mostly he was hunting the good putters, and the guys who would fit into the team spiritually, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Just that everybody likes and that get along with everybody, and quite often you can have that. Think you picture the Seve Ballesteros or sort of the Ian Poulter in the Ryder Cup. They make everybody better around them, and there's people like that, and you just hope to. And there's other people who can be a bit toxic in the team and make people a bit worse. So it's a personality thing and good putters, I think, more than anything else.
Yeah, that's fascinating. Now, we're keen to talk about your own golf, but just one more on the President's Cup. Excuse me. And that's about the just about how much it means for the internationals to do well this time. We spoke to Ian Baker-Finch about this a couple of weeks ago, about it's kind of got to the point where it's important that the internationals do well just for the health of the competition, health of the President's Cup. Do you agree with that? And do you feel the pressure to make sure that it is competitive?
I don't know if we feel the pressure. It's come on, it's about time, boys. We've got to win this tournament. It's been a long time, obviously, and the event needs it. Certainly, the Ryder Cup got a lot better when Europe started winning it all the time, and they had some really tight, close finishes, and maybe created a bit of animosity between the two teams. Just to have that tension there, which just makes it a better sporting event. We don't have that yet, so yeah, we certainly need to start winning it, or at least have it come up to the last hole or two, have some real tension involved. Last time in New York, it was just a bloodbath. It was one of the best American teams ever compiled, and they all played really well. And we kind of a bit envious when we watched the Ryder Cup that they all seem to not play quite as well in the Ryder Cup. Probably for a lot of different reasons, I'm not sure. So yeah, if we can win, we'd really, really love to win this one. Obviously at home and in Melbourne would be pretty special, and then you can sneak another one next time, and then all of a sudden you've got a real thing going on here.
So the big question needs to be, Geoff, do you think Tiger will pick himself?
I do now. I think before Japan I was leaning the way that I think he would anyway. But now that he won Japan, it'd be pretty hard to tell me you could find 12 American golfers that were better than Tiger Woods right now. It's hard to find 10 golfers in the world that would be better than Tiger Woods right now. So I think he probably has to pick himself. I think it would be interesting if he didn't, because I think it would be an opportunity for the young guys in the team. If he was a non-playing captain, they would get to spend more time with him. They'd be a bit more involved with him. Him playing, he'll be a little bit focused on playing, and he'll have to do a little bit of that, or take a bit of his time away from the captaining style thing that he could do. But for the public and the fans in Australia, this might be the last chance to get to see Tiger play on the ground in Australia. I'm not sure.
I know he likes the Melbourne crowds too, and I think he loves sandbelt golf, so it'd be great to see him out there.
I would. And he's playing amazingly well too. What he did in Japan a couple of weeks ago is nothing short of phenomenal, really. So, yeah, he loves Royal Melbourne. It's one of his favourite courses. He always lists it in his top 3 or 4 courses. So, I'm pretty sure he'll play. I think that would be great for Melbourne if he does.
Definitely.
Great for all of us. But as we move on, Geoff, what's your plans for this summer, and maybe just touch on next year and what you're thinking, and maybe how many starts, if you wanted to play in America, would you get?
Yeah, well, I've been enjoying my year off, but you do get a little bit antsy. My golf at the moment is average, I would say, but usually towards the end of every round, I'm starting to hit it better. Like, I start really rough and I start hitting it better towards the end of every round and, like, start feeling like more of a golfer. So it's kind of like I feel like I just have to kind of wake the body up a little bit. So we got your lawn, the Super Sixes, see if we can knock a bit of rust off, and then the Australian Open in a few weeks. This will be pretty good. One of the best fields I think we've had for the Australian Open maybe in my lifetime. I think this year it's going to be a really special Australian Open, I would think. And then I'll play a couple early. I'll play the Vic Open and probably maybe the New Zealand Open next year early, and then piece together some sort of little schedule in the US if I can. With the body of work that I compiled in the US, I can usually get it. There's about 10 to 15 starts I'll get every year in the category I'm in. And they're all kind of the smaller ones, but I can probably put my hand up for a few invites and maybe put a little schedule together, maybe play 10 or 12 or 15 even if it was going well, and kind of see how I go. That would be the loose plan at the moment, but I've got a bit of time to work on that, so we'll see. Hopefully it'd be just nice to put a few good rounds in the belt this summer and kind of feel like a golfer again and see if I want to get going again.
I think you're at a really interesting point. I mean, you're 42 years of age. You've still got so much good golf left in you, I guess, if you want it to be that way. But having had the year off, are you still not sure what you want to do with your golf, or you're a bit clearer sort of a year on?
I'm certainly enjoying my break.
You told me the other week you're getting bored.
Well, yeah, I am getting bored, but I'm enjoying that. Golf is a very relentless thing to do. I'm sure BJ can say the similar thing about footy too. It's just the relentlessness, the week in, the week out thing. And for 20 years, you find yourself always concerned about your golf swing or how you're putting or your next tournament, or I've got to get to the range, I've got to hit a few, I've got to go putt, why can't I play well, what's wrong with me? Like, well, I mean, you get this roller coaster of kind of thing that just you never really get a break. Like, we don't take very big breaks, and golfers tend to be relatively obsessed about what they do. So to just detach from that has been really nice. That kind of feels like your mood runs with your scoring average a little bit sometimes on tour, and just detach from that a little bit has been nice. But yeah, I have been. When you are used to doing that every day, the obvious boredom can come in. So I'm starting to run out of corners of the internet I haven't looked at. So back on the range, it's good to have a program too. So I get back on the range and play a few real rounds of golf, and I'm sure with a few this summer, it'll kind of get me back into reminding me what I love to do the most.
Yeah, because there's a couple of questions out of that. Firstly, now, how many times do you play a week, and what sort of scores are you having, or do you not even score? Like, because I'm interested in someone that would play as much as you did to take a year off. Do you put the clubs in the garage and not touch them at all? Do you play twice a week? What do you do?
Well, I had some periods where I didn't touch them at all. I played Vic Open, Perth and New Zealand earlier this year, and so I was kind of practicing and playing through there, and I played okay. In my last tournament in New Zealand, I didn't finish too high, but I had a couple of mid-60s rounds in the middle there, so that felt pretty good. But I probably took a month or two off after that, maybe played a couple of times, maybe once a week probably. And then through winter I probably played a couple of times a week, hit balls, I don't know, one other time a week sort of thing. So that's kind of been the thing. So it's not like I've been completely detached from it. But I have also not really done any fitness work, and haven't really hit any balls before I played or after I played or anything that kind of we're used to doing. So the body feels good because it hasn't been playing golf all the time, but it also feels a bit asleep when it comes to golf sense. So I just a couple of times a week max. I've had a couple of periods where I had 3 weeks where I didn't even touch one, which was...
I've been keeping him on his toes a bit.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, you've got to be informed when you turn up Wednesdays at Peninsula.
Yeah, because I was interested in that whole thing about not playing very much and not taking golf as seriously through this phase, whether when you get out there it frustrates you that you can't play as well as you would otherwise, or whether you've got everything into perspective and you go, well, I'm not putting in the work, so it doesn't really matter what I'm scoring. I'm maybe even just trying to find the love in the game again.
All of the above, really. It is nice to kind of step away from the frustrations of kind of trying to find it, if you like.
Yeah.
But when I do play now, it is frustrating when I hit some really weird ones. That it's like, come on, what are you doing? It makes me want to go practice again. So a bit of both. It is refreshing to kind of hit Control-Alt-Delete a little bit, but it is a little frustrating to not. It's such a nice feeling to be informed when you play golf. It's like still really the reason I do it is just because of how fun it is to do when you do well, regardless of results in tournaments. Just playing golf well is I really enjoy doing that. So I do miss that a little bit. So if the motivation comes from anywhere, it'll come from that place. And I just really, really want to just play great golf again because I just love doing it.
Yeah, so and this question sort of scares me to ask this because I was thinking this as I was walking down the fairways last week. I'm the same age as you, 42, and I'm thinking to myself, at what age do you get to a point where you can't get any better and you start going down the other way? You won a US Open at 29 and you're going through this period now. Do you sit back and think, maybe my best is past me, or do you think you can still be that player you were when you were one of the best players in the world? It's a bit of a philosophical question to ask.
It is. I think golf has changed a lot in my career, the way it's played at the highest level at least. It was more of a kind of a craft, and there was more kind of cunning and experience that's required when I first turned pro. It's a little bit less now. It's not quite as heavy on the power as the media and everyone would make you think, but it is a massive disadvantage if you don't hit the ball a really long way on the courses at least that we play in the US. And I'm never going to be able to hit it to that length now than I did then, I don't think. You kind of certainly lose the power window, but you gain in the experience window in that sort of side of things, in the cunning and the craft, and that's still always going to be a valuable thing. It's just slightly less valuable than it was before. So I think I can certainly get to that level again where it's that kind of competing in the biggest tournaments. I'm sure I can, but I'd probably be doing it a slightly different way, Before I was a driver off every tee kind of guy, and I'd hit it hard and I could get the par fives in two. Well, I'd be doing it probably a slightly different way now and having to be brilliant inside 100 yards and just miss the balls in the right spots and maybe compete around the courses that that places like Royal Melbourne that would really value experience and cunning rather than just brute power. I think pick kind of targets and I could certainly be as good as I was before, but it would be a different style of game than it would have been if I was in my 20s.
No, that makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
You got one more question, BJ, before we let Geoff go?
No, I've got none. Lisa, do you?
No, I think he's answered everything I want to hear.
Why did shoot your ear off enough? So
No, that's good. Look, it's awesome to be able to chat to you, Geoff, on the PGA Golf Club because we really value the way you think about the game of golf, and we could have 4 hours with you and we'd still have plenty of questions to ask you. So we really appreciate you spending some time with us today.
Well, no worries. Maybe we can do it again.
That'd be great. You can say goodbye now.
Yeah, thanks, Geoff. Thanks for joining us on the PGA Golf Club, and bring your A game on Thursday, and and more importantly, bring your wet weather gear. So we look forward to watching you for the rest of the year and summer of golf, and then in particular the President's Cup and how the internationals go. So thanks for joining us.
Good stuff. No worries. We'll see you Thursday.
Geoff Ogilvy joining us. And for those that are in the Gippsland area, in fact, even if you are in Melbourne, head down and watch the Gippsland Super Sixes, not just to see Geoff Ogilvy in action, but to see Brendon Goddard in action.
And Marcus Fraser.
He thinks he can get through to the Sunday action in the afternoon, so we'll see how he goes. We'll be back with more after this.
Future Golf gets you playing at amazing courses. Future Golf gets you an official golf handicap. Future Golf is the future of golf. It makes you part of Australia's greatest golf community, playing free rounds at partner courses, enjoying lessons, awesome golf events, mini golf and X-Golf. Whether you're a beginner or a golf addict, Future Golf lets you get into the game your way, all from as little as $24.95 a month. And because you're listening to this show, the PGA Golf Club, you'll save 10% on your membership. Just enter the code PGA Podcast as one word when you register. Got that code? PGA Podcast. Head to futuregolf.com.au/join. Future Golf. Play your way.
And welcome back to the PGA Golf Club. It's my favourite time of the week because Craig Spence is in from the Albert Park Driving Range. Hello, Craig.
G'day, Adam. How are you, mate?
Well, I'm going a lot better.
You're extra excited about this, aren't you?
Well, I am because I implemented a couple of Craig's suggestions. I returned to the golf course last week.
First time in
4.5 months.
Wow.
And it worked.
Which one?
The stinger. That worked.
Ah, the stinger.
Feet closer together and not off the back foot, more central in your stance, but it's all about the feet and the swing, not necessarily where you're actually hitting the ball from.
Yeah, and where did you use it? Explain it. Take us through it.
Under the trees.
Okay, we've got to work on that.
Got the 3-iron out, and I had to hit it low up the hill.
Yep.
Now, normally I would try and sort of play either well off my front foot to try and hook it low, or well off my back foot to try and punch it with a fade low.
Yes.
But I decided to go with your technique of keeping the feet close together and just doing that swing you talked about, and it went straight.
Did you?
You would not normally hit that ball straight.
Yes.
Keeping it low because I would have a much wider stance.
Yes.
So
and
it made a difference.
Did you saw off the follow through? Did you sort of and hold it Arnie Palmer style?
Not a steer, but more keeping that, as you said, it's not cocking up more. We're on radiation. Stop laughing. I think I found something.
Lucy loves
Do you know, the thing is, that's a really good drill. And Lynchy was in here when I talked about that. It's a really good impact drill. Because a lot of players especially that I teach down at the Albert Park driving range, their hands are so far behind.
Yes.
And their weight, because they're desperate to get the ball up in the air. And Lisa, you know all about that. Because I know you've done a bit of teaching. So to do the little knockdown stinger shot, work on running the ball along the ground almost, it de-lofts the club and it gets the hands firing a little bit and the body firing a little bit. So I'm pleased to hear that helped you.
Yeah, I've still got work to do with the running chip to get to stop the two bounces and stop.
That takes practice, Whitey. You're 1 from 1 with a stinger with no practice and on the golf course, so you got a good strike rate at the minute.
Yeah.
Anyway. But he's excited, Spencer. What do you got for us this week?
Oh, I'm worn out this week, I tell you.
I gave him some homework.
You gave me some... Do you remember the homework you gave me?
I do. I wanted to know what Tiger has done to be swinging the club the way he has, because it seemed to be different to what it has been in recent years, but perhaps closer to what it was 20 years ago.
So I'm going to have a go here, right?
Good
because what I realised, the more I delved into this... The deeper I sort of got.
Down the rabbit hole.
It was a bloody rabbit hole for sure. So what I've done, I've actually posted some video on my Twitter account.
Yeah, which is
Craig Spence Golf.
Yep.
All right. Which is a good way to plug my BJ's holding something up there. I don't know.
No, you're good.
Anyway, what I've done is I've posted 3 videos. I've posted Tiger Woods at the 2000 US Open.
Yep.
I've posted Tiger Woods early 2017, which is a big gap, I know.
Yep.
And I've posted Tiger Woods' swing in Japan recently, where he won that tournament. Is it the Zozo or something?
Yep.
So 3 completely different sort of swings, and here I go. I'm going to try and break down.
Okay.
The Tiger Woods 2000, which was the US Open that he won by 15, and I actually played in that tournament. Adam?
Yeah.
And I missed the cut by plenty. In fact, Greg Norman and I missed the cut by plenty. I shot 159 for 2 rounds, which is almost 280s. But Tiger Woods in that tournament, he won by 15. It was the US Open at Pebble Beach. And I had a good look at that. Video, and this is probably as good a golf as we've ever seen.
Yep,
this was the start of the 4 in a row.
Yep.
Because he didn't win the Masters that year. He won the US Open. He won the British Open, then he won the PGA, then he won the Masters the following year. And his athletic... The first thing I noticed was how athletic his posture was, which we've talked about. He was over the ball. His weight was on the front of his feet, and he was ready to pounce. He was athletic. He was using a 43-inch steel-shafted Titleist driver, and he was the longest in the world by miles.
So when you say 43
yes.
inches, to a lot of people out there, that will mean nothing. To Brendan, he'll know exactly what that means. Is that long? Is it short? Is it medium?
It's very short. And the reason, if you go and get a club fit tomorrow, there's every chance that they'll fit you between 45 and 46 inches for the average person. But some fitters go shorter. Tiger's wanted shorter because I think Butch maybe helped him at that time to get the right equipment, or obviously had a good fitter, because the club helped him stay in a very athletic posture. And we'll get to the driver length in a minute. But that's the biggest. The other big difference was how much width he worked on. So we've talked about this in the past, how he tried to keep the club wide on the backswing, and he tried to keep the club wide on the downswing, and that allowed him to be very shallow and and create beautiful width. A lot of shots he would take barely with a divot. You know, everyone talks about divots these days, but he would hit a lot of shots without divot, and it was just unbelievable. Longest in the world by plenty, with the shortest driver on tour, which was pretty cool. Body more lean and a lot more speed and athletic, you know. And I think I'm a little unfair later on because his body is not the same body that he had, you know, early days, which either's mine if you've paid any attention. All right, early 2017 swing, and I picked this one on purpose because this is when he was struggling a lot. This is when everyone thought he was gone forever, chipping yips, you know, mentally gone.
Is this the Haney transition there?
This is well after the Haney's done his, I don't know, I better be careful what I say. This is after he's gone through all the Haney and the Sean Foley, and he's just sort of going, well, you guys aren't helping me at all. I think he's been dabbling with Chris Como, and now he's just lost, pretty much, it looks like to me. All right, the things I noticed, nearly every shot he's got a huge right shoulder on the way through. So on the follow-through, he's pulling his right shoulder up, and the ball's going way right. He's just trying to save it with his right side, you know. That is a common thing in his swings at that point. Massive stalling, like his body stalls through impact, so he's so cramped he has to sort of stop and let the club flip through to sort of square things up. Losing his height through impact. Swing looks to be well inside the path. I'm probably getting too technical here, but I told you I did my homework.
That's all right. That's good.
The path is really inside, and sort of he's getting a big loopy hook or a big block, and looks terribly unbalanced. And this is what I'd say: his weight is back on his heels a lot. Like he's got a really long looking graphite driver. I think it's a 45.5-inch driver, maybe around that. I don't know his specs at the time, but it's a long driver, you can tell, graphite, and he's now probably one of the shortest players on tour. So it's interesting.
Extraordinary how much it's changed.
Yeah. He was really, really playing poorly. And the last thing I'd say on that was how narrow his swing looked like. He looked like he would get wide, long, and then he would drop it on the inside, and it was just stuck, you know. Yep. So these are terminology we always use as coaches, and it probably confuses people, but it's hard to paint a picture over radio for everyone. And then, finally, the Japanese tournament recently, where I'm excited because he is starting to swing really well again. Especially, I would say, his short irons. He's starting to get that really athletic posture again. He's over the ball. His arms are hanging freely. And by that I mean, he's not back on his heels and stretching out his arms and getting all tight. He's in a position where it looks like he can really move dynamically. So that was probably the biggest thing I started to see again. He's starting to get some really good width with his swing. So the club's coming in nice and wide and shallow at times, especially with his short irons once again. He still has the driver issues at times where it looks like he gets back on the heels and loses a bit of balance, a bit of control. And he has the really high right shoulder still at times. But he's not going to get back to perfect. We know that he probably doesn't have the same body and the health that he had once, but I think he is. Well, he's shown us he's one of the best players in the world again. He's 6th. He's ranking 6th. He's up there every time he plays again. And it's just exciting to have Tiger Woods, in my opinion, the greatest player to ever play the game, back healthy and looking good again. So on the back of all that, that's a lot of talking. My tip this week... So I did all that homework and brought a tip with me, Adam.
And I've got one that I want.
You got some questions, have you? All right.
You go first, though.
This is this tip my week. How to practice when you're working on your swing.
Yes. Yep.
Right? Because a lot of people go and they'll hit hundreds of balls and they'll work on one thing, right? What I try to do is do your warm-up, spend 5 minutes just hitting some nice relaxed shots with your favourite club, hopefully a 9-iron, 7-iron, pitching wedge, whatever. Try to get some balance flowing. Then, when you start to work on your technique, pull 5 balls over, sit 5 balls on the mat, ready to go. Mat or on the grass at the range. And I want you to hit the first 3 with your technique, then have a pause, and then hit the last 2 where you just focus on a target, right? Where you try to actually play golf. Don't play golf swing for a minute.
Yep.
Then drag another 5 balls over, hit 3 with a bit of technique, and the next 2 with no technique, just thinking about your target or your rhythm or the ball strike or whatever, something really basic. And what you're trying to do is blend the technique into what feels like a bit of a more natural swing, something you can take on the golf course, right? And then towards the end of your session, start to focus on your pre-shot routine again. Pick your target, take a deep breath, step in, 1 waggle, bang. And hopefully you're now having a session where you're working on your technique, you're working on your shot, you're trying to hit the ball, and you're blending a bit of a pre-shot routine. What do you think?
No, I'm happy with that. But Lisa, you're watching and listening very carefully.
I am. Yeah, I'm going to take some of these from my students.
You teach as well. Do you understand that?
Yes. Yeah, it makes perfect sense. And I do try to get some of my students to do some of that. Just focus on your technique, but then hit a lot of shots where you're just picking a target and going at it.
Yeah.
Because they go from the range and they're hitting it beautifully to then having to narrow their focus, and then they just start hitting it everywhere, lose the plot, crack it at you, think you're terrible, but it's because they haven't actually focused enough on the range first. That's what I think.
I reckon even pick a different target with a different club 5 shots in a row. One... Not just the same club over and over, because that's not really golf. That's just hitting the same shot, same swing, everything. So pick a driver with a target, then a 7-iron, then a pitching wedge, then another driver, and just keep going for 5 to 10 shots where you do something different. And you start to realise, okay, it's a little different than just hitting 7-irons all day.
No, it's interesting.
I like to get down the range and do some practice with my students if I'm leading up to a tournament, because they see I actually go through every single club in my bag in a practice session. Might only be 30 balls, but I use every single club in my bag, and then they start going, well, maybe that's what I should be doing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, yeah, you should be.
Yeah, okay. Now, something I want to ask you about is...
Just while we're on that topic, that's one thing I noticed with Tiger whilst we're talking about the GOAT, is that at the US Open, a lot of guys were there grinding on the range. You see them thinking about technique. Tiger came to the range every day. I saw him and he was playing golf on the range. And, of course, later in the week, it was all about before the round of golf. But even earlier, the Tuesday, Wednesday, he was there hitting shots. Whether he'd start a pitching wedge or whatever club it was a high fade, low fade, high draw, low draw, hit a straight one, then change the club. And he went through his whole bag. And I was just sitting there just infatuated with it. Because a lot of the other guys, even Rory, it was all just repetitive, same shot, same shape. They would just sit there working, grinding, or just hitting balls for the sake of it. A lot of them were, but Tiger was one that stood out because he could see the shape and the shots he was trying to hit. It was great to watch.
Can I just say, finally on Tiger, he's been through 4 or 5 swing rebuilds, and I back up exactly what you say there, Brendan, is that it's his swing now. It's almost like he said, well, stuff it, I'm not working on another person's theory. I'm just going to go and find it. I'm going to hit shots. There's an old saying, find it in the dirt, which can work for some, but is a bloody hard way to do it, because when you're lost, Yeah. Sometimes you need a bit of guidance on what to work on. But he's proven me wrong, because I thought he was gone. I thought he was absolutely gone, especially when he went through that chipping stuff.
Yeah, and that was only
two
years ago when he came back for his Bermuda tournament, the Bahamas.
Unbelievable. But it's his swing. He hits 9-ball drills on the range, as you said. It's really natural. It's shot shaping. It's selection. And it's really, really awesome to see.
And he's rolling the rock again.
Yeah.
Yeah, he is, which is probably the most important thing. The question I've got for you, you've mentioned this a few times in recent weeks about getting width into your swing.
Yes.
And I think it's a really interesting thing because people that are listening, and I'm talking on behalf of all the handicap golfers. No, I'm not. I'm completely not. I'm not. But for those out there that want to potentially get more width into their swing, have you got a drill, and this is for you as well, Lisa, a drill or a technique that can help get more width into the swing? Because I only go back to what my dad taught me, and that was all about, your takeaway, try and feel like you're almost brushing the grass as you're going back on your backswing to get more width into it. Have you got any sort of strategies to help that?
I'll just say this. There's different ways to get the width for different players. Now, what I find, majority of people that they might read about it and they go to the range and work on it, they'll try to get width in their backswing. And that will often, remember people, we're talking about width on the downswing, not the backswing.
Yep.
And the problem with that is that often when you try to go wide, when you start to drive the body for the downswing, that pulls the hands in really narrow.
Yep.
Right? But people like Tiger used to feel it wide on the back and maintain it on the downswing as well. So I would say it's a very good question. I'll tell people one drill that I think helps you feel width is to do a baseball swing.
Yes.
Right? So you hold the club up above your belt, and you swing. You'll swing around.
Favourites.
Yeah, and you'll actually feel how the club will travel around your body in an orbit, if you like.
Yep.
It'll become close to your right shoulder, and then you'll feel the width created on the downswing. Now, there's some dangers to that drill as well because it's so flat and all those sorts of things. But, Lisa, would you say that's a good way to feel width on the downswing?
Yeah, I actually get a lot of my beginner ladies especially to start doing baseball swings before they even attempt to do a golf swing, just to get that feel of what they're actually trying to do with their body and their arms through the shot.
It's good. It's good because it makes you feel the orbit of the club head, at how it needs to work all the way around your body. Some people think the golf swing's in a straight line, but it is not in a straight line. It's very much a circle, right? And the width that we talk about is really creating that circle on the downswing and not pulling it straight at the ball.
We've got a bit more. We're just fortunate to have a little bit more time than we would normally. It's a question I'm going to ask because it just come to mind. Is it easier to coach people now because of technology that they can, even with their own phones, they can actually video themselves playing? Can that actually be more helpful or less helpful? Because I know I used to think I had a beautiful golf swing, like a really high-quality golf swing, and then I saw it on the video and it destroyed me because it was so different, A, to what I thought, B, so different to what I see on television, and C, it actually crushed me. So I'm interested in, from a coaching point of view, is it a good thing or a bad thing?
I'll say this, Lisa, and then you can jump in, but I think that YouTube and the smartphone are creating so many problems with swings because people are trying to fix things themselves, and it'd be like me trying to come in and fix your, I don't have no expertise of what you do, right?
Yeah.
So they're trying to fix things, but they only have a tiny little bit of information that they heard on YouTube, which may not even be the problem for them. They just assume it is, right? So I see a lot of work being created for golf coaches, and there's been a lot of concern in the past, YouTube's going to cost us all our jobs, no one's going to need us anymore, and these coaching apps are going to cost us our job. They're not. They're creating more work than ever because people are getting themselves so torn in
that makes perfect
circles.
EJ, you taking note here?
It makes perfect sense.
Would you agree with that, Lisa?
Oh, I definitely agree with that. Yeah, it is. It's keeping us in jobs, I think, at the moment, definitely.
So
but I learned very early on in my teaching career to not show people their swings unless they're definite that they may not see things that they like. I taught someone probably 2 months out of my traineeship. He's like, yeah, I want to see my swing on video. Showed him devastated him. Went from 8 to like 20 because he was trying to change things. He thought, I swing it like Tiger Woods. I'm like, well, you don't. Do you really want to see this? So now I've got to be really careful. And in general, I only really show sports people that I coach because they can get an understanding that things probably aren't going to be what they think it is, but they have an understanding of their bodies.
Yep.
But the general population, no. And I get a lot of students that just, if it's raining, we go in the sim room, turn the videos off, turn the cameras off. I don't want to see my swing, just get me hitting it straight.
Yeah, that's really
They
interesting.
really don't want to see it, yeah.
So what about you, BJ? Are you someone that uses much vision of your own swing? This is probably another segment for a couple of weeks' time, but do you like to look at what you're, or do you feel
not
more
necessarily.
feel?
I do watch a bit of YouTube and stuff. I just said to Lisa.
But what about of yourself?
Of myself? No, not really. No, at all. I just think the ball flight and what it looks like out in the range is the most important thing. So that's where I tinker and stuff a bit, but it's more through feel. So I'll go to YouTube to try and pick up. Jeff and I talk a lot about the golf swing, and recently it's been about getting the hands out in front of you, shallowing it out. So Jeff talked about a feel he ran with, and I'm like, well, that doesn't work for me.
Yeah.
So I was on YouTube trying to find a different feel to get the hands out in front of me, shallow it out because I get steep.
Yeah.
And I found one. So, and I've just been working on that on the range, and my ball flight's gone, it's unbelievably different to what it used to be.
This is what I'm saying. People who actually have some idea of where their body is in a feel, it can be useful. So if it's, like I said, sports people and stuff like that who actually know what, different muscles do in their swings, and they can get a feel going, but for the general population, it doesn't really work.
I just want to feel, and then the ball flight would tell me whether it's good or not, or check my divot, a few visual things that, that's a lot better.
Because I find it a fascinating thing because there's so many different ways to coach a golf swing, and there's so many different ways to coach a golfer, because it might not be technical, it might be mental, or it might be feel as opposed to technique. And there's no right way to do it necessarily, but I guess it's when you're working with every individual, because every individual is different.
I would say, to jump on the back of the points these guys made, is that the best players that I played with had an awareness of their swing, had a feel of their swing. Awareness is a better word for me.
Yep.
They understand it in terms of how to use it. They couldn't write it down on a piece of paper. They couldn't even describe it. The Robert Allenbys and the Stuart Applebys and Aaron Badley when he was younger. I was watching some footage of him in '99 recently, and how good it was. His awareness of his game was just awesome. And as these people some of us, and I'm probably guilty, I tried to understand it, that's where you start to lose it, because you're trying to know your swing. You're trying to know every part of it, and it's not the best way to perform an athletic motion.
You'll laugh at this, Brendan, but I remember I'd never had a lesson before, and I went and had a lesson, and typically with me, I'm sort of talking myself up, and I said I feel like I do swing the club a little bit like Aaron Badley. And so the golf coach said, oh, that's interesting. What we'll do is we'll get your swing and put it up on the computer next to Aaron Badley's swing. I said, oh, this will be good. So really feeling it. So I sort of stand there and they put it on the computer, and I reckon it almost destroyed me completely, because A, it didn't look anything like Aaron Badley's swing, and B, my swing didn't look anything like a golfer. But I had this visualization in my mind that I was doing it the way he did it, to try and give me, I guess, cues for my own swing, maybe to get myself feeling in a confident space. I've got no idea, but it couldn't have been any more different. And I'm thinking, I really, really affected me.
I think what you should do if in the next game you play is film your mate on the first and go up and show him the video and say, have you always done that?
I know what to do next time I play White.
Have you always done that with your left shoulder?
Yeah.
Right? Right? Or have you always moved your head that much? And you'll get him for sure.
Well, I know we're definitely running out of time, but I did play not so long ago with a professional golfer who has been a co-host on this show previously. And I was playing quite well. I was about 1 over through 7, and I was about the same as this professional. And I did hit one a little bit out to the right, and he said, "Oh, is that where you tend to hit your bad shot? Is it?" And I'm saying, sometimes? He said, yeah, by the look of that swing, that's where you hit your bad shot. That's all I could think about then. And I completely unravelled because I started to think about... Because I had no idea what he meant, but he just got in my head and that was the end of me. Anyway, I've got some homework for you again if you'd like to take up the challenge.
Is it easy?
Again, one of my own experiences. And that's alignment.
This is all about improving Adam White's
I guarantee
game.
Sounds very selfish.
Yeah.
You should have picked up on these weeks ago.
No, because I think alignment's a really interesting one because, again, having not played for a long time, I played last week and I was hitting everything left over the first couple of holes and I had no idea what I was doing. And then a comment was made, why are you aiming way out left for? And I had no idea I was.
Yeah.
Because often I'll play with friends and, my friends aren't professional golfers. And you see them from behind when you're all lining, waiting to hit your tee shots and they'll be aiming on the next fairway right. And sometimes it'll go straight and you go, I better not say something.
Yeah.
Sometimes it goes exactly where they aimed it and you go, well, that's where you're aiming it. I think it's an interesting one to discuss cues around how you can teach yourself about alignment, but also to help teach your playing partners to assist them.
Okay.
As long as it's not playing for in a tournament or something like that. Does that make sense?
It makes a lot of sense, and especially the closer you get to the hole, like you see someone, they're aiming right from 3 or 4 feet, and there's no way they're going to make it. They're aiming,
that's right. Exactly
they're aiming
right.
An inch right, and so or 2 inches left. And I'll bring some
because there's that
really
real etiquette,
stuff
isn't it? As to whether you say something to them. If you're just playing a casual round, as to whether you should say, "Hey, that's not where you should be aiming," because they might have got used to that, or it might be just the way that they do things. But I think it's an interesting... I don't know how you do it on radio, but we can give it a go.
We'll have a crack at it.
Thanks, Craig. Appreciate coming in.
Thanks,
and Lisa, thank you for coming as well. Really appreciate it.
My pleasure.
And hopefully we'll see you again soon. BJ?
Thanks,
See you next week.
See you next Monday.
That is the latest edition of the PGA Golf Club. We'll catch you next week. Golf Club, 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 we'll catch you next week.